Hello, film world. I am the Patrick, your host of Tomorrow Comes Movies, the podcast that, spoiler, talks movies. And each episode, I'll be joined by a guest co-host from a roster of movie fans to varying degrees. Welcome back, and thank you so much for tuning in. And of course, if you want to join the conversation, whether it's this episode or any other episode of Tomorrow Comes Movies, you can. One, you could hashtag TOC Movies wherever you're at on social media. Two, you can also still hashtag TOC Movie, but also add us at TOC Movies. That's our handle across every platform of social media. And you can drop your feedback or whatever you're thinking, or if you're just tuning in, and I'll check it out. What are the updates? Sound like a broken record, but you're going to hear this continuously. Action series still thriving, still a lot more to go. That one was super popular, and maybe should have kicked that one off. It was not as popular as The Addiction, but I love the Addiction movie series, to be honest, and that will be coming back at some point. This episode, because I record the intro and outro later on after I do the recordings with the guest, here I can announce that I don't mention it throughout the episode, but this is the premiere kickoff for a brand new movie series that I teased on social media. And if you haven't already, you should follow us on social media at TOC Movies once again, because I teased multiple new movie series, and we've already launched one, which is Cinema on the Big Screen, and we did the Backrooms movie that just came out with my good friend Lua. So if you ever wanted to hear the Patrick raw and unfiltered, and like there's just the normal Patrick that a lot of you have probably never met, my good friend Lou and I definitely brought back what we call the vintage Patrick. So definitely check that out. That was fun. And plus, if you ever wanted to hear what people sound like on edibles, but they're not actually on edibles, that would be the episode. So yeah, Cinema on the Big Screen is now out. We teased another series called Next Stop La La Land, where we tackle older films from classic Hollywood up into, I believe we're going to go up to about the 60s, I think, with that. Maybe early 70s or mid 70s. And that one's coming soon. Very excited, actually, with that one. That one was catered all around a first-time guest co-host. And I'm really excited about that because we've yet to tackle anything from classic Hollywood or anything past. I don't think we've gone past. We've gotten up to the oldest movies we've done, I think, are the 80s. So this is going to be fun with this one that we're going to launch very soon. And I'll just say it later on what it is, but very happy with all these movie series. And of course, if you guys have any feedback on the music, I work very hard with voice actors and musicians and composers to curate the music and the intros for these movie series. And my number one requirement is no AI is to be used. That is one thing that I am very serious about when I work with people. Is if they use AI, that's a no-go for me. So if you like the music and stuff, please let me know. I'm always curious because we put a lot of work into it. I say I put a lot of work in it. I basically give them direction of what I'm looking for, and these incredible voice actors and composers and musicians bring it to life. But I gotta say, man, they keep doing a good job. One guy has done my intro, my outro. He's done every movie series for me outside of Next Stop La La Land. I hired a composer from Europe to do the Next Stop La La Land, and that one was really cool. And I hope to work with him again because I feel like when you podcast, you got to bring these movie reviews to life. So I'd love to do that. But yeah, that about wraps it up. And this episode in particular features a guest co-host who has not been on here, a first timer. This is an awesome Twitter mutual of mine, by the way, who it sometimes feels like the Spider-Man meme where you're pointing at each other because I think they're ahead of me in time, they'll be watching a movie that is brought back to theaters because we both seemingly go to Regal Cinema or theaters, and they bring back all kinds of things with their movie series. So sometimes I'll see this person watch a movie 3 hours before me. So it's kind of cool because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to see that too. But this is a person who I've had great conversations with. They have phenomenal movie taste, and I think they're going to bring something different to the show. So without further ado, please welcome my awesome Twitter mutual, Charley. How you doing, Charley?
Hey, all right. Glad to be here, Patrick. It's going to be awesome.
I'm laughing because just to pull back the curtain a little bit, if you do this podcast with me, there's always something that goes wrong. And things like that can happen. And so you just kind of have to just roll with it. So, but it's good to have you on, Charlie, because we didn't. The force was not strong that first time we did it, though. I'll say that. um, but
The
it's
dark
good.
side was present.
Yeah, definitely. But we're gonna start off with your introduction, and this is kind of just for people to get to know you, and also because I get to know you as well. So this one's always a tough question for people. But do you remember how we met or a specific interaction on Twitter? And it's okay if you don't. I just want to throw that out there.
I'll take a shot. I think you probably wrote something that I thought was pretty cool, and I decided to comment on it. And that's kind of like how I meet most people on Twitter.
Actually, not bad. I don't think anybody's ever said I wrote anything cool. I don't think I write anything cool because I'm very different on this podcast versus what you're seeing on Twitter. But my specific interaction with you, and I'm going to say the movie, and I believe this is the movie that you introduced me to, was Mo Better Blues.
But yeah,
Yeah,
definitely great movie.
yeah, yeah.
Love it.
I think I was on a high after like Do the Right Thing. I saw in theaters. I know you're a big fan of Spike Lee and Do the Right Thing, and I think you recommended this movie to me. And I ended up going down this rabbit hole of like, wow, this is like Spike Lee's amazing. So yeah, that was my interaction, is like you giving me a movie that I can look back now and be like, oh wow, I would have never have watched that probably that soon if you didn't say anything. But you were so passionate. You're like, you got to see this. Like if you love Denzel, you love Spike Lee. And with
Yeah.
that, um, what movies made you realize, this is so funny to ask this question, what movie or movies made you realize you love movies?
I guess what really got me into film was, I grew up like watching, Star Wars and Indiana Jones, the Muppets, all that stuff. But what really got me into film was I went and saw Amadeus when I was like either, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old. I was taking piano lessons, and my teacher recommended I go see it. And then that was like the first movie I watched that was, non IP, non, action adventure, space, all that stuff. So, and I loved it, yeah, growing up, I would definitely, keep watching the IP stuff, and I got into, I loved all the great comedies of the '80s and '90s, all those guys that came out of like SNL and everything, and also Michael Keaton, John Candy, and those cats. And then, I guess as a teenager, probably the first film that just got me into it, like really seriously, because it had no stars in it whatsoever. But I just loved the concept of the movie. And if you ever talk to me on the platform, the answer to this, it's the Commitments, about a working class Dublin soul band. And Alan Parker directed the film, and it's unknowns, and they're, most of them are real musicians, real singers, and they put together this scrappy group, just trying to have fun, make some quick cash, and it's a great movie because it shows you that, I'm going to misquote myself, but you, you definitely want to uh, chase your dreams, but not for the success, but also for the journey.
Wow. I mean, you had me at Michael Keane, so you had me at Michael Keane 'cause I love Michael Keane. But I love that quote because, yeah, the journey to your dreams. I think that's the thing with life, especially if you are big into movies and your dream is to get into movies. Yeah, let me tell you, that journey will help you in many ways because you meet people you don't think that, like, you come across people you're not like, like I'm doing this acting class right now, and I met somebody who really I found completely interesting, was when I was like, what's what kind of movies do you like? And they dropped some classic Hollywood stuff. And I have something coming out with them soon, but I was just like, wow, really? And then it's kind of cool. And like you were saying about the journey. Now it's funny, all the movies you mentioned, I know Amadeus, have not seen it. The Commitments I have not heard of, to be honest. And I should check that out. But that's part of the game with the film journey. You
Yeah,
you meet people and
yeah.
they tell you, like, yeah. And I love hearing your passion about I love how you mentioned IP, non IP, because we're in a time now where we don't like IP. And it's interesting because we're seeing this right now with a lot of younger people who are into movies. Is they have this they have a very snobbish approach to IP. But I maintain that if I did not watch the IP stuff, I would never have gone to movies like Paris, Texas, In the Mood for Love, Thief, or Blowout, because I wasn't watching those movies because, like, no offense, I did not know a lot of those movies until I came onto film Twitter just a couple of years ago. And I don't think there's anything wrong with IP driven movies. Like, what do you think about that whole thing where like the younger generation seems to like look at it with such disgust, but I think it's necessary for your film journey. What about you?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, for me, it was like if I was like watching Thief and I was like, 11 years old, I probably wouldn't get the movie, I mean, or at least I would probably think it was boring or something, or I'd like the shots of the watered down streets, but that might be it. But it's like mature into it. I mean, just even movies that I watch today that I saw like 20 years ago, I'm like, wow, I mean, how did I miss that? How did I not fall in love with that back then? But it just that's just how it goes. I mean, but don't be afraid to like something because the the public chatter is against it. The hell with that.
Yeah, that's something I think comes with everybody who loves movie. There's a maturity that you hit at some point where you're just like, I don't care anymore. Like, because I used to be like those young people we see on the timeline that are constantly complaining, and I'm just like, thank goodness that I did not go on Twitter as much as I do now at that age, because I would have been an idiot. And I once got into it with somebody over the Ninja Turtles movies from the 2010s. I got into an argument with a guy about it because I refused to watch it because of the Rotten Tomatoes score, which the guy wasn't wrong in hindsight when he was like, you should watch it for yourself and stop worrying about a score. And I'm just like, it's raw and I don't care. He wasn't wrong in that exchange, but that it takes maturity for you to look back and be like, well, I think he might have been right, but I still maintain probably I won't like that movie because I'm not really into those kind of movies. But you have to figure it out. So one day in the next 10 years, I'll watch it and I might like it, I might not. But yeah, I think that you nailed it. Like, yeah, if you watch Thief at 11, I don't know if you're gonna have the same effect that you have when you see it now, because everyone loves Thief, right? I mean, like, the way that people are talking about Thief, you thought that Thief was like one of those movies that everybody talks about in the 80s. Same with To Live and Die in LA and Blowout. And let
Yeah,
me tell you, I talk to people all the time about the 80s. Nobody knows any of those movies. Okay. Um, and so I do like your answer. I do need to see Amadeus. But speaking of like you were talking about you went to go see a movie that you saw 20 years ago. You still go to the movies frequently.
I do. Yeah, more so than I watch it at home. And lately, I have a local theater, an independent theater that shows great repertory films, and I might see more repertory films than I see new releases now. I mean, it's just and a lot of stuff it's just some I haven't seen before, so it's the first time experiencing it on the big screen. But a lot of stuff it's just like I'd seen it, I grew up watching it or saw it whatever 20 years ago, but it's just cool to watch it again in the theater. So yeah,
Yeah,
I got a lot of movies.
yeah, I love to see it though, because like I always look at what you're watching, and there's movies that I wish would come to my area. And I've been lucky because I've been going on that Regal movie series. Like I was on a roll. I stopped going to the movies since I started this podcast, though. I have turned into like I'm not watching anything really. I'm so I was recording. I think I did 9 recordings in 5 days. It's a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, and you would think I know this sounds like first world problems, but watching movies is awesome. But when you have to review them, it's very stressful because like I'm never doing anything except I'm either editing or I'm recording. So like I took a break and it was not a break really. It was just me like yesterday I was working like
Yeah,
extensively putting out the backgrounds. But I love it though. I'm not complaining because like I said, I'm happy to have people like you come on who I talk with a lot on Twitter. And it's nice to have you come on because I feel like this podcast is designed for us to take our opinions and our posts and bring it to an audio format or video, depending on how it goes with people, and talk about movies because I think that's the best thing. But Seth Vargas, a movie friend, said something on my Commando episode that was true. Was the only time I've ever been in the same sentence as Martin Scorsese was that I have it's more accessible for me to watch movies than it was for him in his prime because they didn't have physical media. It was just like you had to catch it on TV. You had to look at the TV guide and hope that it was playing. And that's probably what the younger generation is fortunate enough, and it's a benefit, to be honest, for all of us. But for the younger generation, they can go watch these classic movies and they can soak up game that so many of us would get later on, like you were talking about. The only thing my only gripe with this is when you digest too many classic films, you tend to look at movies that are not considered classics as like, oh, those are trash, that's slop. Maybe they are to you, in your opinion, but you need all kinds of movies to be well-rounded. In my honest opinion, that's how you develop your film palette, right? Like, you need to know what you like
Yeah,
and what you don't.
I agree with that 100%. Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, I feel like whatever, how many years ago, 20 some years ago, it's like maybe I should have been watching Sunset Boulevard instead of Pootie Tang that day. But I would still watch Pootie Tang the next day. So I mean, no disrespect to Pootie Tang, which is very funny for the first like 20 minutes. But
Didn't think my podcast would ever have a Pootie Tang reference. So thank you for that. That gave me a
come
good
on,
laugh. I haven't seen that since I was a kid. And I don't even remember it, to be honest, but I know the basics of it. But yeah, I mean, I didn't see Sunset Boulevard till last year's month of masterpieces that Regal did. So I mean, but then
yeah,
I knew,
pretty much the
yeah,
same here. Yeah, Fathom did
yeah.
it. Yeah,
But you know what? At least we got to see it as intended. How many people can say that they
yeah.
saw Sunset Boulevard in theaters? And anybody who can is either in a rest home or in a grave. You know what I mean? Like, that's where it's at. And like, all jokes aside, but I'm just saying that not many people are doing that. And so, like I said, I love seeing you go to the movies because, like, as I kind of referenced with Regal, we both go to Regal's movie series that they were doing. And so I'll
Man,
see you
so
3
good.
hours ahead of me. I'll be like, hey, Charlie's
Yeah,
watching the same exact movie. And it's kind of cool because I love to see that
yeah.
you're doing the same thing I'm doing. And then you have a local theater you were talking about that brings back movies. I would love for that to be everywhere, a theater that brings
Oh
back that
yeah.
kind of movies, because you're seeing a lot of cool things. And like, I wish that every theater would do that, because I think movies from the past are really money makers. People would love to go see a movie from the past in theaters.
Oh yeah. I mean, I went and watched the Third Man yesterday after morning, and packed house. I mean, but come on, it's Third Man. I mean, just absolute, just absolute cinema. So there you go.
Yeah. I have to see it. I have not seen it, but I have heard it's very good. And speaking of movies, what are some of your favorite movies?
I love The Commitments. I love The Player. Robert Altman's The Player. Great movie. I love keeping on the theme of movies about movies. I love Bowfinger. I mean, Steve Martin, Eddie Murphy. That's great. To Live and Die in L.A. Absolutely love that. I love Heat like everybody else does. I mean, but I saw Heat on opening night, and I completely tanked a marine science final, just to go to that movie. Because I was already like, behind in my lab, and I hated the class anyway. And I knew I was going to, have to take a rocks for jocks geology class, over that summer to make it up. But but it's Heat. I mean, come on. I was, I was so stoked for that movie. And I hadn't even seen Thief at that point either, but and other films, yeah, I love Blues Brothers. I love the Blues Brothers. I love a lot of comedies. I love Spike Lee's probably my favorite director. Do the Right Thing, Mo Better Blues, Jungle Fever, uh, Clockers, all great films. School Days, uh, more Eddie Murphy, Boomerang, fantastic. Seen a lot of stuff online about that recently, and and I do love all the the IP stuff too. I mean, I saw Mandalorian and Grogu, and I enjoyed it. And my son really enjoyed it. But that little fucker's so adorable. You it just melts your heart. That Grogu. And man, I can go all day. But yeah. But Bob Roberts. That's another movie, and I say that because it's very hard to find. I still have a DVD of it, but it's basically a documentary that Tim Robbins wrote and direct, and he basically plays a right wing folk singing uh, candidate for Pennsylvania Senate, and he writes these like yuppie Dylan-esque like folk songs, whatever, and he's very appealing, and he's running against a stodgy Democratic incumbent, but obviously the Democrat, doesn't have ulterior motives, and doesn't isn't just using political office, to gain money for himself. And so it's sort of like a face in the crowd, like beware of the popular candidate, the public personality out there that's selling you. They think that you're buying salvation, but they're selling you, venom.
Wow. Wow. You stumped me. I have never heard of that. Wow. And then, that one I will have to check out because I do like Tim Robbins. You do mention Spike Lee. I always associate you with Spike Lee because I've had many conversations with you after I saw Mo Better Blues. Yeah, you really do love Spike Lee, which is awesome to see because I think that Do the Right Thing might be required viewing for everybody, not in this country for sure, and definitely the world, because it is amazing how a film that is got to be 37 years old now is
Yeah,
still more
yeah, I think
relevant
so.
than most films currently. Like, it's insane because we don't do the right thing. I see it all the time, and I'm just like, wow. So I do love to hear your. See, this is why I like bringing on people on podcasts, because everybody has a different journey, and then like you're waxing poetry. Like I pretty much was like, you could have just talked you could have talked about your favorite movies for the next 2 hours, and I would have just sat there because I love hearing people talk about their different types of movies. And speaking, now that you kind of mentioned Spike Lee, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I left out David Lynch's films, but everybody loves that, so that just goes without saying. But yeah,
I think you might be the first person to mention David Lynch movies on this podcast so far. I can, which is shocking because I thought he would for
there'll be more.
sure be. Yeah, like, yeah, I'm sure that, yeah, because everyone loves David Lynch. Another one that I wasn't familiar with until I got in here. But speaking of, like, because we talked about Spike Lee, what are some of your favorite actors, actresses, writers, and other directors outside of Spike Lee? Because I know Spike Lee's your guy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, definitely Lynch is one. I directors going with the classics. I like you gotta go Spielberg, gotta go Marty. I like Tim Burton. I'm always suited for his stuff. And I mean, just I was very impressed with the Backrooms Kid. I'll see his next film. The Obsession Kid. I'll see his next film. And I thought Oscar Perkins did great with Long Legs. That was a wonderfully shot film. And I feel like I need to pull up Letterbox right now, but um, yeah, I like a lot. I don't hate too much, but oh, the anything that Matt Johnson, Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, Blackberry, great stuff. Love that he's got the Anthony Bourdain origin story flick coming out later. I'll see that.
Wow, wow. What about actors? Like, is there some
Oh
actors?
yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, sure. Yeah, Eddie Murphy, Denzel Washington, Bill Murray, Kate Blanchett. Uh, he's retired now, but Jack Nicholson. I mean, I was always seated for all his stuff. Uh, just I watched Tuner the other day. They had Dustin Hoffman in it. I hadn't seen him like on the screen in like I don't know how many years. Let's see. You know, I, I think all the young actors are cool. Chalamet, Pattinson, Spider Man, Tom Holland. No beef with them. Love Robert Downey Jr. even his, especially his stuff, before Marvel. And let's see, I guess, like I said, I got to pull up my phone, but I mentioned Kate Blanchett. I think she's great.
One thing I want to come back to is you talked about Heat, like that moment that you went to
Yeah,
go see it opening night. I also saw Heat, not opening night, but I saw it that year. Um, that is a cool thing to hear because even though it was at the expense of a class, but like that is a moment for you where you look back, you're like, I saw something that I knew was gonna be iconic and incredible. Like you may not, you knew the cast looked good. You knew Michael, you knew that this was going to be good, but like you actually walked out of that movie thinking like I experienced history. You know, I find that awesome because like I wasn't able to really comprehend it as a kid. I knew what it was, but like the only way I always come back to this movie. It always makes people laugh, but that's the way I look at that was like when I saw The Dark Knight because I wasn't really that big into Batman's movies because of what happened with the last two prior to Nolan taking over. I didn't even watch Batman Begins. I was so done. And when I saw The Dark Knight, I know people like to say, "Oh, it's a comic book movie," but let me tell you, that thing was different. I had never seen anything like that, and that would take me to other movies. So I love to hear I had to let you know I loved hearing your Heat story because I think you made the right decision. Just want to throw that out there.
yeah, yeah. And the class was already a lost cause. It was already, I mean, I should have dropped it, but no worries. I got my D's for diploma, so I got out. All good. Um, yeah, Heat, man. I tell you, that's just and that year, Heat was Christmas of '95, and right before that, not before that was Casino. I mean, you just had just the double double De Niro classic right there. I mean, couldn't eating good that time for sure.
Yeah, 95 was a good year because we're reviewing a movie from 95 too, actually. Yeah, it was
Sure are.
it was really a good year. I'm going to name a couple of actors here, and you either reply with GOAT or not. And there's no judgment here. It's just depending on how you feel about them. Are you ready?
I might have a third option, like uh, uh, need to see more of their shit or something like that, just because I don't want to just say that. Like, nah, it sounds like they suck or something like that.
Well, yeah, there might be a little judgment depending on how you go with the first one because the first one, yeah, I'm a live or die on this one. But here we go. Meryl Streep.
Okay.
Okay, I agree. That's that to me. That I literally will go to battle for Meryl Streep. James Cagney.
Yeah, I haven't seen none of his films, but I like compared to like I don't know Bogart, I'd probably go like Bogart or something. But I would just I need to see more. I liked him in Mr. Roberts.
Yeah,
He
that's
was good in
okay.
that.
That's okay. The Cagney estate's not coming after us. Like, hey, I saw your podcast. Apparently, our relative is not a goat, huh? No, I mean, I haven't really seen many of Cagney. I don't even know if I've ever seen a Cagney movie, but I guess I would classify him as a goat because I mean, without him, right, we don't get a lot of what comes later. Okay, here we go. Javier Bardem.
Oh, he's great. Yeah, he's a goat. International goat. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, if I'm correct, there was a fact right about No Country for Old Men that of all the people that have played somebody like him, he was the most likely to be something like that. Like his portrayal of it was the most realistic. So I would say goat. Okay, here's a good one because what we're reviewing here. Gene Hackman.
Oh, goat, big time goat. Yeah, the Ram, whatever, goat. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, Ram's like a mean sheep, so he's just a goat. You know.
Yeah. Like Charlie's my guy here because he's yet to make me go like, what the fuck? Yeah, Gene Hackman's one of my favorites. So here we go. Here's a couple that from the '90s. They really had some really big breakthroughs in their '90s. One with a career resurgence, one who just took off after that. Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh yeah, definitely goat. Yeah, absolutely. His performance in Jungle Fever, fantastic. Check him out in this movie Fresh from around that time as well. He was great in that. I mean, but so, he's kind of like the current living version of Gene Hackman, just doing everything, and it's all great.
Yeah, I definitely think he's a go. I don't know why, but for some reason we don't put Samuel L. Jackson in that tier, that conversation as often as we should. Maybe because he takes a lot of movies that people don't like. But I mean, I've yet to see he can. If it's a movie I don't even like, I've yet to been like Samuel L. Jackson is horrible. Like he's always been top tier in everything, even Snakes on a
Yeah,
Plane. I mean, it's just
yeah,
crazy, you know?
yeah. Or I mean, I love the I loved his Shaft revision, whatever revival. Yeah, the John Singleton one especially. I mean,
Yeah,
that movie is underappreciated in my book. Jeffrey Wright is so good in that. Christian Bale, I mean, he's just just like a you know a, like a Trump brat, with with the actual like toughness or something. I mean, it's a
yeah.
it's a good movie.
It is. Yeah, I saw that one in theaters too. And also, what's her name's in it too? Toni Collette from Hereditary. She's in it too. She's
Yeah,
the yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Wow,
yeah.
look at us. Look at us. We're bringing you deep cuts that you probably would not have recognized at that time if you had seen Shaft. Okay, here we go. John Travolta.
I think he is. I don't put him like on that tier. With next to Hackman, his Get Shorty co-star. But I mean, Get Shorty, Pulp Fiction. I like a lot of his films that he's done. So, but he's iconic, for the roles that he has taken. But I don't think he's yeah on top of the mountain.
Okay, that's okay. So he's a not. The only reason why I will give him the GOAT status is I've never seen an actor come back every decade and resurge his career. It hasn't come up in a while, but after the '90s, I was just like, wow, he's. When I went to look at his career, I was like, wow, he just keeps coming back every decade with something that like, hey, he's back. But it's
Yeah,
been a
no,
little. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, he's good. I mean, just Gene Hackman. I can't put him next to that. Sort of like if you watch First Things First, Nick Tears, or Mahomes Mountain, or whatever. I can't put him, on that same level. With with the goats at the top.
No, it makes sense. I like I said, there's no judgment here. It's just based off your taste. Here comes the next one. Rita Hayworth.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen any of her movies. So uh, just yeah, incomplete. I know.
It's all good. It's all good. I've only seen her in Gilda, and I mean I'll give her the ghost S because like I mean she is one of the most iconic. I mean my God, I can't watch Shawshank Redemption and not think of the fact of what that that poster. And the last one
Yeah,
is Angela Bassett.
oh, go absolutely. Yeah, and not just for what's love got to do with it. Strange Days, absolute sci-fi, whatever, um, modern day dystopian masterpiece.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she's a goat. I'm always frustrated with Hollywood because I don't think they know what to do with Angela Bassett when she should be doing all kinds of things, and and she's so talented. Okay, like, and if you're not familiar with some of the movies that he dropped about Angela Bassett, all you need to know is she got nominated for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and that was a really good performance. And if you like that, you should definitely go back into her filmography. So yeah, goat or not, that was good. That was actually good. I was curious to know who was going to make the cut. And it's funny, I would not have guessed Travolta would have been the no. I was going with I think I was going with Javier Bardem for some odd reason. I don't know why I thought he was going to be the not of that group. Maybe because he's still kind of, I mean, he won. I know he's won an Oscar, but I feel
Yeah,
like he's just like he's another 5 years. I'm like he's for sure go, but I think he is. But
he's
it's yeah,
have you seen his Spanish stuff? I mean, he's done just wide, diverse, roles, characters. I mean, guy, he's very, but I mean, but as Anton Sugar, I mean, that I read that novel, and I couldn't picture anybody playing this guy, and like, oh yeah, that's who it is.
yeah. No, phenomenal actor. And here we go. Name, in your opinion, 5 definitive movies from the '90s.
Oh, okay. that that define the '90s in general, or that just define it for me?
5 definitive movies from the 90s that based off of your preference. There's no judgment. Like, yeah, like what do you think is definitive 90s? If someone's like, tell me, Charlie, you were there.
Oh, Pulp Pulp Fiction by far is just number one, because I mean, like, they had, they made Dornbring posters, of all the characters and everything. Um, that's definitely one. I guess I would go with, probably should have looked at this question in advance and made you a list. Uh,
You can
Pulp
drop one that
Fiction,
you went to.
like,
Yeah, there's
defines
one
the
that.
'90s. Heat, of
There you go.
course. I
There you
mean,
go.
I just gotta, but it wasn't that definitive in the '90s though. I mean, it's younger generations have embraced it, which is great. And I figured that it would happen eventually. More people saw this movie, because the people used to ask me, like, what are your favorite movies? I'm like, uh, and this is like 2000. I like, Heat, Big Lebowski, and which is okay. I'm gonna throw that in there too. That's '98. Yeah, Big Lebowski. Um, Rushmore, Wes Anderson breakthrough, absolutely. And I love all this stuff. And then probably no, that wasn't the '90s. I'd say Speed, because I mean, that's Keanu, action star, birth of all those great films to come.
Yeah. No, I liked all those choices. I mean, for sure, I guess definitive 90s. I mean, hey, you named a lot. Yeah, Heat is interesting. Yeah, because everyone loves Heat, but yeah, the way people talk about Heat on the timeline on Twitter, you thought that was one of the biggest movies. It is one of the biggest movies, I guess, in the 90s, but not like, I guess if I had to pick definitive, Goodfellas would go number 2
Oh
after.
yeah,
Yeah, Pulp
yeah.
Fiction. It's funny. It's blasphemy to say Pulp Fiction, but I got to be honest, guys. It really is a big deal in the 90s. It really was. I mean, it was insane. You can't even go anywhere without talking about Pulp Fiction. It gets brought up all the time when you think of modern uh, classics. I mean, I know people don't like Quentin Tarantino, and I get it, but it's hard to not, it's hard to not acknowledge Pulp Fiction's power. But I would say Pulp Fiction, Goodfellas, and then The Matrix came out in '99, I think, right? I believe it came out
Yeah,
in
it
'99.
did. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
The
did. Yeah.
Matrix, and then this one's probably really strange to bring up, but I will have to throw in Good Will Hunting. I think that was
Oh
that
yeah.
had, and then Forrest Gump. I mean, I know that's might be these are just movies that I feel like people know, but both of us nailed movies, and I can say I've seen all of them except Rushmore in theaters. I
Oh
think that might
man.
have been
Okay.
that
Yeah.
might have been the only one I didn't see in theaters. But look at us, definitive '90s. And there was a question I was going to ask about not well-known films, but you mentioned two, so I don't really have to cover that, because you did mention a couple movies that I have not heard of that would be considered what the movie series that we're going to be doing in a little bit here. But that concludes your introduction. Wow, you are fascinating, Charlie. Do you get that very often, that people tell you that you're interesting and fascinating?
Uh, Depends how much they've had to drink. So
I'm sober, but um, but we're gonna be covering a movie that's part of the series called Hidden Gems of Cinema.
Tomorrow Comes Movies presents Hidden Gems of Cinema.
It's a movie series. It's a treasure trove of movies that are either unknown, underappreciated, underrated, or they were once popular and have fallen into obscurity. And I had a 200 film list, and I gave this to Charlie. It was so funny, by the way. I am walking my dog when I get this notification, and it says in my ear, and you said something like, I think you said like, I'm gonna do an audible or something, and it goes, get Shorty. And I was so perplexed for like 10 minutes walking my dog, going, why would get Shorty be considered a hidden gem? And then I thought about it, and I was like, he might have nailed this. The last part, once popular, has now fallen into obscurity. And it was a very good choice because I saw it last year when Gene Hackman died, and I had saw it in theaters originally and always loved it, but I didn't remember it as well as I thought I did. And so you picked this movie, and before we get into the review, I'm going to give these movie facts here, and this should be really interesting because I'm sure we both saw it in theaters, but it came out in October 20th, 1995, Get Shorty. You saw that in theaters, correct?
oh yeah, I saw that advanced screening actually, but yeah.
Wow. Now, advanced screening, was that like back when they were only doing midnights?
No, it was just like a local promotional thing. I just got like a ticket on someone was on my college campus, and they're like, "Yeah, we're going to show it a week early, at the mall." So I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be there, absolutely." So yeah,
Yeah. And so Get Shorty's directed by, I hope I wrote this name right. Barry Sonnenfeld. Did I get that right? I think it's
Sonnenfeld, yeah, yeah,
yeah. And then the screenplay is by William Frank based on the book from Elmore Leonard. It stars John Travolta, not Goat, I'm just kidding. Rene Russo, Gene Hackman, Goat, Danny DeVito, Dennis
goat,
Farina, yeah, Delroy Lindo, Goat,
goat,
um,
yeah,
and James Gandolfini,
James
Goat.
Gandolfini, goat.
John Travolta's got to be sitting there going like, so Rene Russo and I are not goats, and I'm like, you guys are. You guys are.
Oh yeah, yeah. Renee Russo. Yeah, I wish she got more work. She's great. Yeah, it's just
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And the synopsis for Get Shorty is a mobster who is a big movie fan is tasked to go to Hollywood to collect a debt and gets a crash course on the business. Now, if you haven't seen Get Shorty, I'm going to look over here. I would be perplexed, but then again, it is a hidden gem for why we're covering this. But you should watch it. I highly recommend that you should watch it before we talk about it because we're about to hit the glory days, Charlie and I, and reminiscing about how we saw this once popular movie that everyone's like, I've never heard of it now. If not, then you can just listen to us talk about it. Are you ready, Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, this movie's like like Heat was. I don't know, 5-10 years ago. Before people rediscovered it, and so
Ooh.
hopefully, we're on to
Yeah.
something here. We're planting the seeds.
Yes, yes. Actually, I love that. Okay, so let's talk movies. Now, is that the reason why you picked it? Was what you just said?
Yeah, it is. I think people would really enjoy it if they watched it. Absolutely, and there's a lot of things that are happening today that they would recognize in the films. I mean, or just there are a lot of things that kind of coincide with one another.
Yeah, yeah. I have to say thank you for picking it. By the way, I just watched it right before we did this again. I love this movie. So, first question is, this is kind of like a two-parter. I want you, as
Okay.
best as you can, is if you can try to remember what you thought of it when you first saw it to your recent rewatch, like try to like kind of mesh them together as best as you can. I know it's a long time, but what were your first impressions of Get Shorty?
I love it every time. I mean, it's a it's easily one of my rotating top four letterbox picks. I mean, it's delightful every time. It's great. It's so funny, and it, it's yeah. Travolta, he's coming off of Pulp Fiction. This is his like probably next to coolest role since that, and you got Gene Hackman playing against type as he was in Unforgiven. Here he is, funny as hell. You didn't see Danny DeVito like in a lot of movies. He was directing, a lot of stuff back then. But the fact that DeVito is basically like playing Marlon Brando in that film, it's just wonderful. Renee Russo, she was just outstanding, and she was coming off of Lethal Weapon 3, and then yeah, Gandolfini, who before Sopranos, but I recognized him from his role in True Romance, and
Yeah,
uh, and he was great. And Delroy Lindo, I think he was on my radar since Clockers, and yeah, he's just fantastic. I mean, like I always felt like he should have gotten a fourth of Sam Jackson stuff that he turns down for something because that guy is he's one of the best.
yeah, yeah. I love to see that Delroy Lindo is getting these much deserved flowers from his performance in Sinners. But like, yeah, I remember him from the '90s. So to me, like, I wish he was bigger because I love him in this movie, even though I don't really like his character. He's so smooth. But my first impressions, I remember watching it and liking it as a kid because it pertained to movies. That's what I remembered about it was kind of had these cliches about movies. But when I rewatched it just right before we did this, I'm always reminded that this has got to be one of the ultimate movies that if you love movies, if you're a fan, like I don't say cinephile, I'm not real big into that word, but if you're a
Yeah,
cinephile, I
file at the
guess,
ends kind of.
or I'm old school. I go movie buff. this is the perfect movie for people who love movies because it is a fun crime comedy that has these multiple storylines, but it's so funny, it's so witty, and then you get these Hollywood and these mobster cliches that kind of work. And like you were talking about Gene Hackman, who if I read this correctly, I've heard that he thought that this was a really bad role for him, but it's actually one of his. It's so good how funny he is, because I heard that he didn't. If I read that correctly, I had read somewhere that he didn't think it was that funny, and he's one of the funniest in this. And it's so good because it has one of the most likable characters if you like movies. I'm telling you, like Chili Palmer is my guy. So this is, to me, a movie that if you love movies, you should be watching. Like it's insane to me that people don't talk about Get Shorty as much as we're about to talk about it on the timeline.
Yeah.
It should be. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of Get Shorty, what are in your opinion, what are some of the highlights? What are your favorite parts of the movie? It could be acting, could be writing, could be the visuals, the story.
Definitely the writing. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've read a lot of. I've actually, read Alan Moore's, original novel and a lot of his other novels, and that have been adapted. And but I guess the scene I really love is just when Chili and Karen are pitching Martin Weir, and Danny DeVito, Mr. Lovejoy, but Chili goes into his own project. He wants to get off the ground, and he's like, he's telling him, how you look at somebody, look at me, which is to me like, are you talking to me? Look at me, Uh, and then when DeVito finally gets the look, I mean, and I was like, Chili goes, whoa, same thing too, man. Just like I'm in the back of my chair.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, I love that you brought up that has got to be one of the funniest parts. Yeah, and I'll say this though, one last thing on my first impression. This movie is basically what happens when you have a midlife crisis in your profession. You either go Chili's route or you go Bo's route. That the whole time in the movie I kept going, this is what happens when you have a midlife crisis and you want to go into Hollywood. But yeah, that scene with Martin Weir, it's so good, played by Danny DeVito. Is they make fun of Hollywood so badly with the way Danny DeVito plays his character. And in that scene, though, like to talk about that scene is they're pitching this movie with Rene Russo's Karen Flores. You got Chili Palmer and you got Danny DeVito's Martin Weir. And Karen and Martin used to be married, and clearly Martin still has a thing for Karen, and Karen's over him. And it makes me laugh in this movie is when you're an adult and you're watching this, you're watching Martin having to put on this extra ego in front of Chili, who's basically like the coolest guy ever. And then like there's this back and forth who's got a bigger dick, because like he calls, like Chili goes, hey Marty, and he goes, it's Martin. And it's so funny watching them go back and forth. Yeah, they're going back and forth, and then but it's funny is Martin never really has the upper hand as much as he's used to, because they kiss that, when they're a big movie star, they get their ass kissed constantly. Chili does not do that with him at all. In fact, when he's trying to get into the Shylock role, he makes these faces. He's like, are you falling asleep? Are you, you look like, yeah, I mean, yeah. And it's so, yeah. And the thing about a crime comedy, it can either go well or it can go bad. It can just go, and this movie is in my opinion, it's one of the most well-written crime comedies, because you have likable characters, you have likable storylines, and it's fun. They're playing these cliches that are like, you can clearly laugh. And you were saying something like, it's still relevant, exactly relevant. It's just different in the age of social media, where they probably would have done a Zoom call for this instead. But yeah, I love that you pointed out the highlights. Yeah, for me, the comedy, as I said, the crime. I love the story. Chili's story, to me, like, I really love this character. I think he's become one of my top 5 favorite characters, because he's a guy that I could totally hang out with. He loves movies. He's passionate. And also, he's got to be the coolest mobster, where he doesn't have to resort to violence to get what he needs. He knows he could have been a boss the way he was, because he's able to get people to do things. And you said something that made me laugh was, if you watch this movie, you got to take a shot every time Chili Palmer says, hey, look at me. It's so funny how he does it, because every character in that movie doesn't know how to react to him when he says it. And it's so funny because they're like, it's simple. Just look at him. And the one guy's like, I'm looking at you. And he's like, no, and I need you to, yeah, go ahead.
And they can't recreate it either. When when Harry tries to do that with Bo. No. So with
Ray
Ray.
Bones. Yeah.
Ray Bones, Ray Barboni. Yeah. Dennis
Yeah.
Farina. Great. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Dennis
And
Farina is
that's
one of my
top.
highlights. Yeah.
And that's top playing, fucking hard ass mobster. Great. Cut from the same
Yeah.
cloth.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about this movie, right, you have a tie-in like Gene Hackman, you got a tie-in like Danny DeVito, you have John Travolta just coming off of Pulp Fiction, you got Renee Russo, who had a very decent career with the Lethal Weapon movies, and she's stepping into something bigger. You got Delroy Lindo, you got James Gandolfini. I mean, you have Dennis Farina, and then you have, if I think is it John Cryer from the White Lotus?
John Grease.
John Grease, there you go. John
Yeah.
Grease,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, he's in
The
this
guy
too.
from Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, like it's crazy. Is you got all these amazing actors, and it can easily be like only like a handful of these people are gonna do well. Everybody does well in this movie. It's crazy. Even the guy from Jurassic
Yeah.
Park who gets eaten by the Martin Ferrero, I think it is.
Martin Ferrero. Yeah.
He plays Tommy, and he's only in it for like 5 minutes, and he's so good in it. So yeah,
And
the
then
acting.
Mr. Escobar, he's one of the cops in Do the Right Thing.
Yes, yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, and then you have even the guy who played Yayo. I think he pops up in movies in the 2000s. He's so good. Like everybody is good in this. So the acting, the story's good, the movie aspect of it's good. But my favorite part is, and I brought this over, is just the midlife crisis of these two older guys just being like, I want to make movies. I hate my life of crime. And I don't know if that was intended, but like, I don't know if that's ever been something people are looking at. But to me, I was just like, that speaks to me. Cause like, you were talking about something about dreams and the journey, and that's truly what it becomes, is like these journey of these two guys, Bo and Chili, and how different they went about it and what happens throughout the movie. So, and then now that we talked about the highlights of Get Shorty, let's talk about if there's any for you. Is there anything about it you don't like?
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I love it. I mean, it's not too short, it's not too long, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. And then back to shout out to John Grease, he was also the guy in Real Genius who the guy that lives under in like the basement of the dorm, who sends off for all the Frito-Lay contests and wins everything at the end. But he's in other good stuff too. But no, it's great. It's so funny. There's so many memorable lines and everything. I mean, just the Delroy Lindo, Bo Catlett, who should have been his first Oscar nomination. I really think that. I mean, 'cause it's such a fucking cool role. But he's like, you don't know me, you only think you do. I mean, great line. It's total badass.
Yeah. Delroy Lindo is a highlight. Yeah, because I don't really have anything about it I don't like either. Delroy Lindo is a highlight because he holds his own among these bigger actors, right? And he does it with such charisma that you can't really hate him. You're supposed to not like him, but I like him. Like the whole time I'm just like, if you could just be cool, you and Chili might get along. But then again, this is the only argument with Delroy Lindo is, as a movie fan, you recognize another person who likes movies, but they don't really love movies like you, and they're trying to get into the business, because that's the only knock on his character is he mixes up things, and like Chili's looking at him like, no, that was a different movie,
Yeah.
and that's where he lost me. But see, Delroy Lindo plays that character so well that you're like, you kind of toe the line where I like him, like you were saying that cool line, like, you don't know me, and then like him and Chili have these really good scenes together because they're the most charismatic guys. Like, if everyone thinks Martin Weir is the most charismatic in Hollywood, no. Chili and Bo are the real cool dudes in this movie, along with James Gandolfini's character. Like, they're just so cool. As he plays Bear. I don't have anything either I don't like about the movie. I know it's hard for people to understand this, but there's some times where there's nothing wrong in a movie. I always highlight that when people are like, I don't have anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfect. I mean, for what they set out to do, it's great. I enjoy it every time.
Now, with the humor in Get Shorty, do you still feel that it is still as good as it was 31 years later? Came out in 1995. And in terms of, I think you might have mentioned your favorite part was the Martin Weir when Chili and Karen pitch him the movie, they visit him. But is there another part that you liked that you thought was pretty funny?
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of scenes. I mean, I like the scenes with Dennis Farina as Ray Barboni. I mean, where he says, it's or like in the beginning, you know, when he when he first interacts with Chili, he's like, it's like Chili Palmer. It's Chili outside, it's Chili inside. It's regular fucking Chili fest. You know, I mean, that cracks me up. And if you go into a Chili's restaurant and say that, you know, they'll give you some free onion rings. But no, I'm kidding. But but I have tried it. But I mean, it's just so funny. I mean, like the scene where when Chili goes to Harry's office and Bo's in there and he's reading Mr. Lovejoy, the one of the scripts they're trying to get off the ground, and he's like, we can do this ourselves. You know, all we gotta do is just like write some shit down, you know, and hire some motherfucker to put in some commas and shit. You know, I mean, that's it's just completely just like debasing the whole art of screenwriting, but it cracks me up.
Yeah, and it's even funnier is when it's not intended to be funny, but it was really hilarious was when Chili was like, oh yeah, then why the fuck do I need you then if you just told me everything? Yeah, it is so good how he does this, and I love the Ray part too because Harry Zim trying to recreate what Chili did. Basically, all the instructions. That's what my favorite scene is when is when Bo and his associate come and visit Harry Zim at his office when Chili's there, and he's walking him through. He's like, all right, have them sit here. I'm going to sit here in the boss seat. Do not have them introduce me. Don't tell them my name. Tell them the movie's delayed. Don't tell them why. Just say it's delayed for this amount. Do not give anything else out, and open the blinds so they can't really see too well. And Harry Zim, this is why Gene Hackman's so good with his humor. He lets them in. And his character is so frustrating because he listens to nothing and just does the complete opposite. He doesn't. He's like, and Chili even said, "Don't mention Lovejoy." He mentions Lovejoy, and John Travolta sells this so well because like there's a face that I've made with people too. I'm like, why did you do that? I just told you not to, you know. And it's funny and I can't allude to what it is, but Charlie and I were talking off this, and we were talking about something about the recording. And I don't know if you remember the joke where I was like, imagine if you just got on there and you said what you just told me, you would have been like, oh, what the I would have been like, why did you say that? I just told you just told me we're not talking about that. Like, it would have been like, it would have been so crazy. But that was my favorite scene was you know, that whole thing. And then when they leave, Gene Hackman looks over, he goes, what? And he's like, was I not clear in what I told you? Or you did exactly everything you did the complete opposite. And he's just like, Gene Hackman's like, well, I had to say something to him. That's probably my favorite part. The Martin Weir would be tied. And then the Ray Barboni, because Harry Zim deserved, Gene Hackman played that so well. The way he talked to Ray Bones and thinking that was going to work and then getting beat up. It was, the humor to me personally, the humor is still as good as it was in 95 as it is in 2026 because it's so funny because it's comedy that works. You know what I mean? Do you think that too as well? Would you agree?
Definitely. I mean, look at me, not just the cool line, but it's also a great callback that gets applied and reapplied in lots of scenes to great comedic effect as well. And then and then Martin Weir, the big, you know, hot super actor of the time, you know, he's clearly infatuated with Chili Palmer so much that he wants to he decides to drive his buy his own Oldsmobile Silhouette to be just like him.
Yeah, and speaking of Oldsmobile Silhouettes, is that truly the Cadillac of minivans?
I always thought it was a 40-hour star, but you know, maybe so. Family never had one.
No. I just my face was, I couldn't stop laughing when it's raining. He gets to LA, it's raining, and he's like, "Where's my car?" And she's like, "It's there." He's like, "It's an Oldsmobile Silhouette." She's like, "It's the Cadillac of minivans." And I'm looking at it, and I Googled. I end up going through specs. I'm like, that is not the Cadillac of minivans. But it's so funny though. Like I said, you can't like. I wish I could see one on the road now and just have a good laugh. But I know if I saw one on the road, I must have time traveled about 30 years ago. But, yeah, that's a great one too. Now, one thing that we haven't highlighted yet, I was curious, was the cinematography and the score of Get Shorty. I personally love the score because it reminds me of when I was a kid. But there's a couple scenes in the cinematography that I was a fan of. What about yourself? Was there anything that stood out with either one of those?
Well, the score, I had the score on CD. I think I had it on cassette first, and then I bought the CD, whatever, you know. And it's great, you know. It's got that classic Booker T and the MG's Green Onions on there, and another track by them as well. And this kind of, I don't know what you call them, but it's sort of like a depression trippy jazz group, Morphine. They had that song "Cure for Pain" in the '90s, and they got a track on there. I Had My Chance, and then the cinematography. I mean, it looks great. I mean, it's not uh, who's the cat that does all the Coen Brothers stuff? Deacons. I mean, it's not that, but you don't need it. It's good for it, it's great for what it is. And I think if you notice, but the Martin Weir book that everyone like keeps reading. I mean, that's a knock on the Brando memoir that was out around that time. That's why I equated Weir to Brando.
Yeah. It is hilarious that that book is everywhere and everybody is reading it. It somehow shows up everywhere, and I felt like Karen Flores at the end when she sees it in Bo's bathroom and just like, ugh.
Yeah.
But yeah, the cinematography, there's two shots that I really dug. Was the one where Yayo is staring at locker C18 and that it zooms. It's such a cool shot, and I wish that they did more of that in Get Shorty because it was so cool. And then he's kind of like looking around for the bulges in the thing. And there's a little bit of humor here. Is at one point he looks at a kid.
Yeah.
And he's like, he kind of like shakes his head. He's like, he's so paranoid to open that locker. And then the other one was when Escobar shows up to get Bo, and they do that really cool like zoom in drops from the top, overlooking the top, and drops right down. Yeah. And then that really funny scene. It's always accompanied by a really, the two henchmen are like squishing Bo, and I'm just like, yeah, like I love that, and those are my two favorite shots. So let me ask you though, if you were Chili, or just like let's say you were Yayo, and you were told to open locker C18 to get the money, do you think you would obey, or you're like, no?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it. Especially if it was. I know I was picking up drug money. I mean, like in an airport like that. Nah, and I mean, even 31 years ago, too much can go wrong. It's like have you ever seen? It's another Hackman film. You ever seen the movie Heist? Hackman, DeVito, Delroy Lindo also in this. Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
David Mamet.
I think I saw it, but I do not remember. I don't remember, but I know what movie you're talking about because I probably saw it in theaters. I just don't remember.
There's a great line in that film where he like they're planning a a heist, and Sam Rockwell's kind of like the hothead of the group, and he's questioning the planning, and Hackman says like, "You ever cheat on a woman?" And Sam Rockwell's like, "Yeah, sure." It's like, did you have an alibi? No, he said, yeah. He's like, did you get caught? No. It's like, well, do you wish you didn't have that alibi? So I mean, too much could go wrong.
These are the kind of questions I think about when I watch movies, as I ask these really ridiculous questions. But let's say if Get Shorty came out today, and Chili Palmer had a letterbox, what do you think would be in his letterbox favorites? Like, what do you like? I don't expect you to name 4, but do you think there's one that you could be like, I think I would be on his list?
He talks about Pacino in the movie, so I mean, Dog Day, Serpico, Injustice for All. I mean, maybe even Taxi Driver, but he likes the musicals too. So I think, I mean, that's just what I'm thinking of John Travolta. But, it's that type of classic stuff as well. I mean, he's watching Touch of Evil, so, probably also enjoy The Third Man. He would probably, Sunset Boulevard, Hollywood. I mean, I can't remember what movie that they reference at because he's lamenting the closure of a movie house at the beginning of the film, of all things. So I can't recall which film that he's talking about there. But back to the backing up for a minute, back to the cinematography. Barry Sonnenfeld, the director of Get Shorty, was the Coen Brothers, one of their first cinematographers. He was a cinematographer on Blood Simple, and then there was a great shot in Get Shorty. I do like when Chili and Karen are just sitting in front of the sunset.
Yes, yes, yes. And yeah, it's funny is he transitioned to being a director, and I think he did really well. It is funny though, yeah. In the beginning, yeah, that's how I am with somebody. I could literally they could be talking about the weather, and I'm like, oh my god, this movie theater is closing. But he's talking about James Cagney movies. He does, he mentions
Yeah.
James Cagney, but I guess for sure I think would be in his letterbox favorites is the jacket that Ray Bones takes in the beginning of his jacket. He mentions that it's a Serpico, it's a Serpico type of jacket. So Serpico's going in there for sure. We both got that one. He does have Casablanca in the background of his office in the barbershop. He mentions Rita Hayworth and Glenn Ford. So the only movie I can reference, because I know they did a few, but Gilda might be in there. And then, of course, I have a feeling that Rio Bravo is in that. For the way he was talking about that when they mess up when they when they're arguing about like I think he's doing with Bo or something like the El Dorado and Rio Bravo. He's like, hold on, that's not
Yeah.
it. And I've done that. Have you done that with people where people will say the wrong
Oh
thing? You're
yeah.
like, I have to correct them. I can't allow
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. For sure.
And then do people look at you like it's really not that big of a deal? And you're like, it is. I'm telling you, it is. To me, I don't like that you're getting these wrong because you're telling people the wrong thing out there when I'm not around.
Yeah. Sometimes it depends how you say it, but yeah, it's yeah, for sure.
Yeah. When I do it, some people always say to me like, "Wow, you really watch way too many movies," and I'm like, "I'm giving you the correct information. Why am I the bad guy here? Like, what's happening here?" But yeah, like another thing with Chili Palmer. Here's another question. When he's watching, was it Touch of Evil? Correct? That was what he was watching. Was that the movie
Yes.
with? Yeah. And he's kind of like there's this childlike wonder where he's kind of sitting,
Oh, yeah.
he kind of leaning in and he's like saying the dialogue before it actually happens. And Karen notices this and she's like, "Oh, he really is." Not only does he just happen to be the best looking mobster of all time, he also he really is the real deal with the movies. Have you ever been like that in a movie where you were that into it like Chili Palmer was?
I just wouldn't say the lines because that would annoy me. Talking in movies to be like, hey, I'd be like, shut up, Chili. The movies, let the movie finish here or something, But yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, just the stuff that I mean, watching like I watched Live and Die in L.A. finally, in a theater last year, and I found myself wanting to like say some of Brick Master's lines, in my head, you're in the
Yeah.
wrong place at the wrong time,
Yeah. I felt like that with certain movies. Like when I did the month of masterpieces, I think I had done that with The Departed. I didn't say the dialogue, but I kind of like mouthed it because I love The Departed or Goodfellas, you know what I mean? And so like, or Interstellar was another one I had done with, but I never say the dialogue out loud because I'm like you, I'm thinking because we behave, we understand theater etiquette. But let me tell you that in that theater looked like 2026 with the way there was nobody in that theater. By the way, it was looking pretty bad. And the funniest part was when the movie ended. I've always wanted to do this too. Is like you witness cinema and you want to tell if you go by yourself, you just want to tell a random person there, like you want to hit them, like wasn't that great? And he does that to some
Yeah.
guy, and the guy's
He
just
does,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
guy did not, yeah, he doesn't look as jacked up, but then like he sees Karen and it was cool. But I love that. That's why I love Chili Palmer. Like, and I thought like I know John Travolta is known for Pulp Fiction being probably his, arguably his most famous, role because it really gave him a career resurgence. But I got to be honest, I always think that Get Shorty might be my favorite performance of his in the 90s because he is really good at this character and he sells it so well that you believe that this guy really does love movies. And he's also just a really smart mobster. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
speaking of, I know we kind of go ahead. Sorry.
No, I agree with that 100%. I think that's his best role in the 90s. I enjoy it more than Pulp Fiction. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know we've kind of highlighted some of the other performances throughout our conversation, but like I want to highlight is James Gandolfini. We kind of talked a little bit about him, and Rene Russo and Gene Hackman because those three we've kind of mentioned a little bit, but what was your thoughts on those three performances in particular? And you can talk about other ones too if there's anything that come to mind.
Incredible. I mean, this Gandolfini, like his Sopranos co-stars, referred to him as the gentle giant, whatever. I mean, Bear was certainly that, and just very convincing. Playing whatever stuntman from Florida or wherever he was from. I don't know. I don't know. He's from the Glades or something. Renee Russo. I mean, she was great. You know, I mean, she's playing this, you know, like former scream queen, whatever. You know, it's kind of just still like just like hacking it now in Hollywood or whatever. And then who's the other guy? Hackman we're talking about? Oh, fantastic. I mean, just you know, everything that he's in is good. You know, even if you watch the movie where he like, you know, I think it's his last film he retired on, where he like runs for mayor against Ray Romano or something. You know, I mean, it's just he doesn't phone it in. You know, yeah. Sam Jackson, you know, does a lot of films. You know, does always brings it home. But I mean, he's getting up there. I don't know who's going to be like the next guy. You know, just the reliable guy out there who's just like in everything and it's always going to bring it home. I don't know who it is. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I think it's gonna be Coleman Domingo. I've yet to be disappointed.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll see. I
I see
mean,
that.
but yeah, Hackman. I love that Hackman is getting this love because I didn't never thought he had comedic chops really, but he is really like in a zone with this movie. That I hate his character, by the way. I really don't like his character. His character is an idiot. And speaking of that, like
Yes.
outside of yeah, like what are some of your favorite characters in the movie? I'm assuming Chili's your guy, right? Because he loves movies.
I like Chili. I like Bo, but I really love Martin. I mean, I love Danny DeVito. I just love the fact that like you know he's the guy that they went with to play this character. They didn't go with like Redford or William Hurt or you know or somebody. They go with and it's just it's you know it's against type, but he completely owns it and sells it. You know, and it's so good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It is hilarious that Danny DeVito is playing the greatest actor who just happens to be the shortest actor of all time. He's not really like really that great looking either. Like, but he's just so compelling. Like everyone, like you hear Martin Weir and everybody in that movie freezes when he's mentioned. Yeah,
Yeah.
without Danny DeVito, I don't know if this movie and Gene Hackman, without those two, I don't know if this movie fully works because they play these ridiculous characters and the cliches of Hollywood. Let's talk about the cliches of Hollywood and the mobsters. Which one, with each one, which was your favorite cliche of it, of Hollywood and the mobster aspects of this movie?
Favorite monster cliche, probably Ray Barboni. You know, I mean, he was just great. Hollywood cliche, I guess. I mean, it's cliches or a satire. Everyone like just wanting to make it, trying to get into the business.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
mean that's probably it. Yeah,
I love the one when they go to the restaurant and Karen had already told Chili how it's gonna go. She's like, he's not gonna
yeah,
pay. He's gonna order something off the menu. It's gonna be ridiculous. And he does. He's like, let me get a egg. He's like, let me get some let me get some, egg white omelets with some shallots, but not like too much salt. And can we get some of those like frappe kind of strawberry drinks? And then he goes, we're good from there. And he grabs the menus. And if you look at Travolta's face as Chili, he goes like, what the fuck? And I felt the same exact way because I was like, I do not want egg whites and shallots, Mr. Ware. And then he doesn't even eat, by the way. He gets up and he go. That's how funny the comedy is. It's just like he's gone. And then I love how he's insulting Harry. He goes, "Thank God you didn't cast me in this movie because I probably would have been typecast." I'm telling you, it's just it's so good. That was my favorite cliche is how Hollywood actors are because I've met some divas on the press side. It's unreal. And then the mobster one, yeah, Dennis Farina does not get enough credit for how good he is because I've always loved him as an actor. I always think of him in Snatch, but this is also another one I would put him with because he's so good as the mobster. Because he's not only is he like really good dramatic actor, he's hilarious with how he acts. Um, but yeah, my favorite mobster cliche was the when Momo is having to go up the
uh,
stairs because every
yeah.
big mob boss guy is like this gigantic guy, and then like it just made me laugh was that they made him go up these stairs and then he has that surprise and then he dies, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, the guy's not in the best shape. Why is he climbing the stairs? And why are we doing surprise birthday party? This is why I don't do surprise birthday parties because I don't like I'm not. It'll be like a jump scare for me. I hate surprises like that. I need to know. But yeah, those are my favorite cliches. Now let me ask you. Let's say this is gonna be a very strange question, but you're in bed with Karen
Okay.
Flores. You're in bed with Karen Flores, and she wakes you up and she goes, "Charlie, I think I hear something down there. I think the TV's on." Are you gonna get up immediately and investigate, or are you gonna pull the Harry / Chili Palmer where you're trying to like not go down there and you're finding different excuses? Which one are you? Are you going down there immediately?
I've been in a similar situation, not with Karen Flores, but uh, yeah, there was some hesitation, and I uh, I ended up like checking it out. It turned out just some like dishes fell, into a thing or something. But one time I was walking in the apartment in the middle of the night, and my girlfriend at the time had like a little statue of an elephant or something, and it was behind this like curtain or whatever. And I looked at it, and I don't think I was smoking anything that night, but I I look at it and I go, "Oh my god!" And I go back and I tell my girlfriend, I'm like, there's a child in our den. She's like, what? And then then she's like, take something, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna beat a kid with a baseball bat,
Yeah.
whatever. So, I go look, oh, and it's just her statue of this little like, elephant thing, So it was like knee high, but it was just clearly a combination of I don't know, whatever I was drinking and some sleepwalking.
I love that. So thank you for sharing that, because that's absolutely hilarious. Like, you have to go back and report to your girlfriend, like, what happened? There's a child in here. And she's
Yeah.
like, okay. Like, like for me, I guess I would go to investigate, but because of paranormal activity, I don't know if I'm rushing down immediately. But I am like Chili, where I hear something, I'm like, is that so and so movie? But I probably would go down there. But I would be more like Chili, where like I'm like, do you have a gun? Like I was
Yeah.
like, do you have? I need something if I'm going down there. But like if I go down there and I see Katie from Paranormal Activity, I just want you to know, Karen, I'm going out through the back door that you never lock, apparently, that you leave open, apparently, because I keep breaking in there as Chili. That's what I would do. And let's see, what I do have. Let's see here. Um, were you impressed with Chili Palmer's movie knowledge?
Yo, yeah, for a gangster, absolutely, yeah, and just in general, I mean, yeah, he definitely is the TCM loan shark for sure, yeah.
Yeah, I love his movie knowledge. Like, I totally think him and I could be. It's weird to say this to a mobster. Like, we could be BFFs, and he's like, Patrick, look at me. We're friends. We're never gonna be BBFs, okay? And I'm like, okay. Um, Now, what do you think about like and as we wrap this up, we're talking about the story with the crash course of Hollywood. We'll talk about that aspect, and then let's talk about the midlife crisis of the two most charismatic guys trying to get into Hollywood. What did you think about the whole aspect of Chili getting into Hollywood? Like that was, to me, was fascinating in a time where you don't have social media, you don't have any connects, and people are reading Variety on a newspaper, which I'm sure people are like, wait,
Yeah.
what? Like, what a time that was. What did you think of that whole aspect of the story of crash coursing into Hollywood?
Oh, yeah, I to me, I mean, like, I think that's like the principal, like, joke of the film and the novel, is like, it crooks are running the town or something, and they're trying to get into it, which is sort of like I think that's like the underlying joke. But yeah, but back then, I mean, yeah, the trades are everywhere. People were just reading it, wherever you went. I mean, it was just as common as anything. Well, you had print media, so that was that was the thing. And younger generations see this, they're like, what the hell is that? Well, you kind of have to, I guess, Google newspaper or print media. It's
Yeah.
just going off on a tangent here, but when I showed my son Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, I had to explain to him what a telephone booth was. It's like- and he liked the movie, but he's like, "What is that thing?" So, I mean, there's not much of a gap here, but yeah,
Yeah.
that shit's not around anymore. Yeah.
No. No, I used to go to LA every weekend. My dad used to live there, so I would go there all the time. So I would see the newspaper stands, and it was crazy when last time I went there and there was like none. It was a very different experience. And speaking, it's funny that you mentioned Bill and Ted about the phone booth. Is I remember I had a girlfriend one time talking to a younger coworker, and she was, or no, not an older coworker. She was talking to an older coworker about her daughters, and she was talking to them about like, how do you, like, if I said to you, make the hand gesture of a cell phone, what would you do?
Oh
Like,
my gosh.
would you do this? Okay, perfect. Like this,
Yeah.
right? She
Yeah.
told me that when this lady told my girlfriend when she asked her kids, like, how do you do the phone? They did this. They just put the because of iPhones. And I was
Oh,
dying. I was dying because I was like, are we this old now that we're just like this? And I was just, and she's like, no, but I did the same thing you did. I would have done this. And I'm just like, we have come this far in life where now this would not make sense. People are like, are you trying to hang 10? Like, what are you doing? That's not how you do
yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's a different time. Now talking about I love the Crash Course, by the way. I always loved that whole aspect of it because, like, if you love movies, it's just so much fun to watch this go down because you kind of get little insights and little jokes about the ups and downs of Hollywood, like having to patter. You have to basically reassure an actor like Martin Weir. And there's something about it in acting class that I have to learn was when he talks about the character, the Shylock. He's like, "What's my motivation? Is I have to do this now. I actually I did this recently. I had to do a commercial and I had to do a script analysis and I wrote a 25-second commercial turned into a script page of a backstory of why I did this character this way. Why did he become the character in this commercial? And it made me laugh to see that with Martin Weir because I have to do that after this. I have to do a script analysis for this character that is only going to be a minute long. It's ridiculous. But that's what you have to do to tap into these characters. You have to sit there and ask these questions that Martin Weir is doing.
I
What about
believe it. Yeah.
yeah, it's ridiculous. By the way, when I read the paper, I go, why did I do this? Like, but I need to get into character. But now with the midlife crisis, what did you think about that? Because to me, I don't know if that's is something that most people are pointing out, but to me, that's what it came down to was Get Shorty's about two guys trying to get into a more professional type of job type of thing versus the life of crime. What did you think of that aspect of the story?
Yeah, I kind of just also thought of it just as more so as the lure of Hollywood as opposed to just midlife crisis. I mean, to be honest with you, it's just like, yeah, who doesn't want to make it?
That's true. I mean, I shouldn't say that because I don't know if Chili Palmer's having a midlife crisis. I think Bo is for sure because of what's going on with that locker. But
Yeah.
I would say that Chili's just like I need a new change of scenery because I don't like my boss, and which I understand. But yeah, I always thought it was funny watching that because I always love that aspect of Get Shorty is these parallels because the true story is you should follow Chili Palmer's way of going into Hollywood. Don't do what Bo did. Be as
Yeah.
cool as Bo. Be as cool as Bo, but be like Chili. And let's get to the ending because there's a lot of intersecting storylines. That's one thing that this movie does really good job of is really intersecting all these storylines, and it tidies up really nice, and it ends on such a funny note. So
Yeah.
and you can spoil anything you want as we clearly have. But what did you think of the ending, and was there anything in particular that you really liked about it?
Oh, I thought it's a great ending just because I mean it just smash cuts to Chili's success. and
Yeah,
it's fun, you're seeing, Harvey Keitel as Ray Bones and then they went all out, Penny Marshall's directing the movie, I mean, and everyone's driving Oldsmobile Silhouettes. So I mean, it's hey, it's Chili's made his mark on the town. So yeah, it's great.
yeah. It's about to be like Chili. It's about to be Chillywood, not Hollywood anymore. The way his influence on that. I mean, you thought he was the second coming of David O. Selznick, as they mentioned in this movie. The way
Yeah.
he has this influence, I loved it. I love the way it all works out because the best part about it is Chili said something to Harry Zim in the movie was like, I don't give out information. Never share things that you don't want to share. Like always keep your cards close to your chest. And he does this at the end by setting up Ray Bones and he doesn't give him all the information. He's like, yeah, you're good. Yeah, take that locker. Have a good thing. And the way that scene goes is everything gets tied up because Bo basically gets taken out. And by the way, Bo, it was sad to see Bo die, right? But the way it goes out is so funny because it's such a cliche to something like the stunts they go into they fake fight and how he dies. It's so cliche to everything with Hollywood. But the
Yeah.
best part is when they get to that locker and it transitions to Harvey Keitel as Harvey Keitel as Ray Bones, and then like we get Martin Weir, who's supposed to be the greatest actor of all time. He can't
Yeah.
even shoot the gun correctly. Oh,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
It is pitch perfect. And then the best part is when they're arguing. If I'm correct, Chili and Karen are like, I don't think Martin's our guy. let's go to
Yeah.
lunch. And
Yeah.
it's so funny because they worked so hard to make this movie and they wanted Martin Weir, and then like they realized like he's not the right guy. And of course you mentioned some of the people in there, and you get the cliches. You know, we didn't really talk about, but Beth Midler shows up briefly in this
Yeah.
movie, and she's absolutely hilarious with her storyline. But yeah,
Yeah.
what did you as we wrap this up? What did you think of the whole Bo storyline? Because he kind of basically does something similar to Chili at the end, except he didn't have his cards all lined up. Where Chili had everything lined up, and that's why he went out. So, what did you think of that whole thing with Bo versus Chili at the end?
I mean, Bo is, well, I mean, I think that I don't think it was a midlife crisis for Bo either. He just wanted to, like, ascend another level, Hollywood player, whatever, bigger house, bigger mansion, more girls, and he just, wet his feet by investing in Harry's, whatever, Freaks movie or something like that, and his low budget, like, Corman film. And, but Bo, I mean, he's not as, he got sloppy, and, just, he takes too many risks. And then, he got back into the corner, showed his true colors, and just wasn't as cool under pressure as Chili. So
Yeah, I mean, he just didn't have it all settled like Chili. But yeah, I love the way this movie wraps up, because it wraps up really well. Like, there's really nothing that you can look back and be like, yeah, that didn't get situated. So here's the here as we enter the final questions here. Out of
okay.
100%, what would you rate Get Shorty?
Out of 100, like in terms of like comedies, I mean, I would give it 100. Like against like all movies. I mean, like a 95.
Okay. Hey, you know what? It makes sense, right? Because it came out in 95. You
Give
saw it in
95.
95. Yeah, everything is 95.
Yeah.
I would also give it, I'm going to go at 96. I love this movie. To me, like, it's the perfect movie if you love movies, because you're never going to find a cooler guy that loves movies than Chili Palmer. And as we wrap this up, I love the fact that I'm so glad you picked this movie, by the way.
Right on.
Definitive 90s movie. Would you consider Get Shorty in that group?
Oh yeah, absolutely, definitely. I mean, just because of the Pulp Fiction like connection, because DeVito produced Pulp Fiction as well under Jersey Films, and obviously Tarantino, big Elmore Leonard. Elmore Leonard was a big influence on Tarantino because it's Jackie Brown, but I mean, but you can see it in his writing, and but it's just to me it's just like, yeah, I love crime films in general, and it's one of the best, even if it is a crime comedy. I mean, it's great, and I think crime films peaked in the '90s for sure.
Yes, I was about to say that. Yes, on definitive 90s movie, definitive crime comedy. It is one of the few that you can still watch and have a good time. If you've seen it like 100 times, to seen it one time, I would love to do a challenge that you cannot laugh at least one time in that movie and think like, well, that's a really well tight story. How everything worked. There was no plot holes. It's just it works. Now we're gonna speed roll through this. I'm gonna name the actors in this movie. You tell me if this is a definitive movie in their career. Here we go.
Okay,
John Travolta.
definitive, absolutely.
Yes.
Would almost get him on GOAT status, if he had more like this. But yeah, definitive.
Yeah, he would have had ghost status, but Charlie's like, I saw Be Cool, and it wasn't that cool.
We're not going to talk about Be Cool at all. The book's not good either, but we're letting that go.
Gene Hackman.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely, yeah.
Yes. Delroy Lindo.
For sure, yeah.
Hell yeah. Danny DeVito.
100%.
Rene Russo.
Definitely.
Yes. Yeah. James Gandolfini.
Yeah. In terms of his range, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. And then last, Dennis Farina.
Definitely. Yeah. I just mentions his name, I think of this movie. I think of Ray. So yeah.
Yeah. And now, and the last two questions. Would you have read Martin Weir's Weird Tales book? Do you think you would have picked that up?
If I liked his movies, maybe. No, I didn't read Brando's book, but I haven't seen a lot of his films either. I don't think I've read. I think the only actor I know. I read Steve Martin's like memoir about his early career. I read Martin Short's book. and I read Dangerfields, and I read a book about Andy Kaufman by Bob Zmuda, who's the real Tony Clifton, well, part of the real Tony Clifton. And I read Bill Murray's book. It was mostly about his, like, it was funny, but mostly talking about golf. And Paul Paul Schaefer's book. It's great. So, yeah, maybe not.
Martin Weir took a big L after that ending where you're like, I don't know if he's that great. I would probably have read it just for laughs because it's ridiculous. I've only read Billy Crystal's book. I have a bunch of them, but I read Billy Crystal's, and I really love that one. And I'm reading Cary Grant's right now. Okay, so this is the question of why it's a hidden gem. Why do you think Get Shorty isn't as popular nor mentioned anymore like it was in the 90s and early 2000s? It was really well known. I mean, it used to be talked about always.
Because it's a comedy. They just don't travel as far as, I think, like dramas or, it's not it's well-made film, but it's not an auteur-driven film by any means, I mean, but but probably, yeah, because like it's a comedy. I mean, because they tend to be very dated, within the genre. But this isn't, though, because I mean it just relies on on humorous writing, as opposed to contemporary references.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you nailed the core. I think it's because it's a comedy, and it's not going to be like something that it's not going to be like Thief or Blowout, right? Where people are like, oh my god, like it's jaw dropping. But I'm going to argue that it is pretty damn good because like a movie that's 31 years old that can still make you laugh the way it was intended, and it's still relevant. I just think that maybe the problem with the issue is a movie like that it's so considered so old now that like the way people, like younger people that are not big into movies, will look at a black and white movie and be like, I don't think I can relate to that. I have that all the time. I get through that. I encounter that more often than you would believe. And I think the problem with Get Shorty is if it was more serious, less comedy, I think this would have been a different reception of its staying power. I think people would have been more excited about it because look at The Big Lebowski as a good example, right? Like that one is well regarded, right? And I think to myself, Get Shorty could be right next to it, depending on how you feel about The Big Lebowski, but it should be in that same bracket where people are still talking about it all these years. And so
that is an auteur-driven film, though.
True. I will. You know what? You do win that argument because that is true. It is a driven thing. I mean, I guess Barry Sonnenfeld's like, wait, am I not worthy? What's going on here, guys? Like, but I think you said something earlier in this podcast that is going to come back. Is you think that it could get re-exposure at any point, it could just get rediscovered, and then everybody is talking about it.
Yeah, it could very well be in the Letterboxd 10 of the week someday, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's they didn't do anything for the 30th last year, but missed opportunity. But I mean, everyone's talking about John Travolta wearing berets now. I mean, Delroy Lindo is getting his flowers finally. I mean, Danny DeVito is all over at Sunny in Philadelphia. People know who Frank Reynolds is. Gandolfini. Just everyone knows. Tony Soprano, Gene Hackman. I mean, people are familiar with his work, and mourned his death. And yeah, I mean, like it's very resonant today, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And the last question: would you rewatch it and or own it on physical media?
I have it on physical media and I have it on digital media. I've rewatched it many times, even when I see it on channel surfing. It's stop and watch it like Goodfellas. It's one of those movies.
Yeah, I would say yes. I mean, I literally just bought this for this. I bought the what is it, Shout? I think it is. Yeah, and I bought this one last year after it died. So I have it so much, people, that I'm like, I'm willing to hand it out to you. Well, not the Shout one, but the regular one that doesn't have a menu. But yeah, that concludes Get Shorty. I can't thank Charlie enough for letting me wax poetry on a movie that had a big impact on me in the 90s, except I didn't remember it as well as I thought I did. But it's fun to relive a movie that I hope gains an audience, because like this is going to be crazy. Could you imagine if this got added to the Criterion Collection, the amount of discourse that would cause? And you and I are just sitting here like, okay, Delroy Lindo's getting those flowers now because like people will watch it, right? What would you
Yeah,
do if
about time.
what would you do if that ended up in the Criterion Collection?
Great. I mean, like, they just put House Party in the Criterion Collection. I went out and bought that. I mean, that's just so awesome. I love it. They just added Life of Brian. I mean, yeah, Python is elite comedy because it's British, but it's still silly and it's fun. And yeah, no, it totally belongs in there. It definitely does. If they can get enough people to do commentary, whatever, just enough to whatever, fill up the menu. They should do it.
Charlie, we're here. We could do it. We could do the commentary. We can literally
exactly. It's right here.
It's right here. We'll just put this episode in and be like, yeah, we submit the work. Like we did a couple hours of this, and they're like, wait, wasn't this from another year? Like it's cool. Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Seriously, I really am glad they have gotten you on here. I kind of know who I want on the podcast, and you were one of the people I for sure wanted on my podcast because I've seen you wax poetry on movies, and that's what I want. I want people that love movies that can also talk about movies. So thank you for letting me revisit a movie I loved in the 90s.
Oh man, it's a pleasure. It's great. I mean, great hanging out with you and just talk about this wonderful film.
Yeah, and if people want to follow you, Charlie, where can they go? Letterboxd and Twitter, wherever you want them to give you a follow if they're interested in seeing what you're up to.
Yeah. I'm at Charley Greiner on Greiner on Twitter, and I think on Letterboxd I'm Charlie G. But if you find me on Twitter, you see my link to my Letterboxd or something, and so or just follow the Patrick, and you'll see me comment on one of his stuff. So find me that way.
I'll drop the link because I think we are following. Well, I hope I'm following on Letterboxd. That'd be really awkward right now if I'm like I'm not. And then,
you are.
I'll tell you one thing. Like we record this podcast. I'll say this: it went from Get Shorty to Get Charlie on this podcast. The original version of the intro will not make it probably, but I just want you to know that to get Charlie on this podcast felt like getting Martin Weir to do that movie, and I'm glad that he came on. And I hope that you will come back for sure. I would love to have you come back on.
Yeah, I definitely will. This is great. Yeah. There's lots of stuff, that if you like Get Shorty, I got other movies that that follow along with it. Bowfinger, The Player. I mean, just, or The Commitments, just really anything, it's all good.
Perfect. We'll see you again.
Yep, most definitely.
Thank you so much, Charlie, for coming on to the podcast. It went from Get Shorty to Get Charlie, and we hope to get you back on very soon, maybe hopefully for the next movie series. And it's been a blast to kick off Hidden Gems of Cinema, because when I was going to record this, there's always somebody different that I was like, I'm going to kick the series off. But because of scheduling, you never know who's coming on. And so I can't thank you enough for helping me launch a series that I think is very important to the podcast and to myself, is highlighting movies. However, this is the end of the episode. So thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Tomorrow Comes Movies. If you haven't already, wherever you're listening to your podcast apps, please hit the follow so you can stay up to date when new episodes drop. And of course, we're everywhere. Amazon, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, Pandora, you name it, we're on it. Deezer, another one. So definitely make sure you're hitting the follow. If you're watching the video version on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Of course, hit the bell notification so you can stay up to date when new episodes drop. And you can go to youtube.com/@TOC Movies. You got to put the at TOC Movies. And if you haven't already as well, make sure you're following us on social media. It's at TOC Movies, wherever you go. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Blue Sky. I think that's it. And of course, if you don't want to do any of this typing, you can save yourself some time by just going to our social media or going to our YouTube page or wherever you listen to podcasts and look in the link description or look in the bio for social media. And the same thing with the YouTube videos. Look at the link description or the show description for that particular episode and click on the link tree and it'll take you to everything. So you don't have to type in. I think it's easier. And what else? More hidden gems of cinema are coming. More action films are coming. And we do have the first classic Hollywood film coming. So stay tuned. A lot is happening. And hopefully we're going to have some more new movie releases for our movie series, Cinema on the Big Screen. I hope to do more new releases. So If anybody's interested in coming onto the podcast to do any of these movie series, please reach out. If you know me in real life, just send me a text, or you can message me on social media. Same thing with my awesome Twitter mutuals. Just send me a DM on Twitter. You're always welcome to come onto the show. Just remember, it's a video and audio podcast, unless you're not comfortable, and that's perfectly fine. I've had people on here who want to come on or who've been on, and I don't release the video. I will still see you though when we record, just so I don't talk over you. But yeah, you're always welcome to join, and let's talk movies. Look at that. TOC movies. Let's talk movies. That is it. I am the Patrick, your host. Until next time, stay tuned for another episode of Tomorrow Comes Movies.